So you dig out your classic gaming console, right?
Yeah.
You plug it into your shiny new flat screen, and, well, what do you get?
Let me guess. A black screen mocking you with that no signal message.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have this perfectly good piece of hardware, but it speaks a language your modern TV just completely refuses to learn.
Yeah, and that is the exact bottleneck we are targeting today in this deep dive.
Yeah.
We're looking at a highly specific tech solution. It's called the Smart-AVI V2V-AV2HV-S HD video converter.
Catchy name.
Right, rolls right off the tongue. But our mission today is figuring out how we can actually modernize aging audiovisual gear without, just tossing it all into the donation bin.
So let's look at what this little box is actually dealing with. We're talking about capturing some truly legacy analog signals.
Oh, absolutely.
Like those classic red, white, and yellow CVBS composite cables, or the green, blue, and red component cables. Even that multi-pin S-video connector. It catches those old inputs and converts them into a clean, modern HDMI or VGA signal, plus stereo audio.
And the underlying mechanics of that translation are where the real story is, I think. Because analog signals are basically just continuous waves of electricity.
Right, just fluctuating voltages.
Exactly. Fluctuating voltages that tell an old CRT television exactly what to display. But modern HDMI screens, on the other hand, they only understand digital binary code.
Just zeros and ones.
Yeah, just zeros and ones.
So it's basically like a sci-fi universal translator, But instead of alien languages, it's translating these messy electrical waves from the 1990s into the crisp, mathematically perfect ones and zeros that our modern screens demand.
That is a great way to put it. And it manages that translation seamlessly, too. According to the manufacturer's specs, this unit installs in seconds and features an auto detection system for the input resolution.
Oh, wow. So it's totally plug and play.
Yeah, it's a massive quality of life feature. You don't have to fiddle with tiny dip switches to tell it what kind of analog signal is coming in. It just figures it out and locks on automatically.
Okay, but I do have to push back a little here. Because I see these $10 adapter cables online all the time that claim to do the exact same thing.
Sure, the cheap ones.
Right, so if I'm looking at a $199 price tag for this Smart-AVI box, I have to ask, what is this doing that a cheap wire isn't? Why not just buy the cheap cable?
Well, those cheap adapter cables are mostly passive.
Meaning they don't actually process anything.
Exactly. They essentially just change the shape of the plug from a round pin to an HDMI rectangle. They just pass the raw signal through and hope your TV has the built-in hardware to decode that old analog wave.
And let me guess, most new TVs simply don't.
They really don't. The hardware just isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
But this Smart-AVI box is actively processing the signal in real time.
Oh, so it's not just a pipe, it's an entire processing plant. It's actively intercepting that fluctuating voltage and reconstructing it pixel by pixel.
Right, and that active reconstruction requires some serious hardware under the hood. It supports video resolutions up to 1080p.
Which is pretty standard today, but for analog, that's huge.
It is. And to do that smoothly, it handles 1.65 gigabits per second per channel.
Wait, really? That much?
Yeah, to put that in perspective, that's enough bandwidth to analyze, translate, and redraw millions of individual pixels every single second.
So your old VHS tape doesn't look like a stuttering, blurry mosaic.
Exactly.
The specs also mention it supports 8-bit per channel, deep color. I imagine that's crucial because, analog video was notoriously fuzzy with color bleeding.
Oh, absolutely. The color bleeding was terrible.
Right, so it's not just making the image fit the screen, it's actively calculating millions of potential color shades to stabilize the image. It prevents those weird blocky color bands you sometimes get when blowing up old media on a modern 4K panel.
Yeah, it is basically interpolating missing data and stabilizing those voltage variations on the fly. It really treats the legacy signal with respect.
Fixing the flaws of the analog era before the digital screen ever sees it.
You got it.
Well, you'd expect a processing plant doing all that heavy 1080p match to be the size of a toaster, right?
Yeah.
But it's actively shrinking that technology down.
Oh yeah, it is tiny.
It's barely 4 inches wide, about an inch high, and weighs just half a pound.
Right, small enough to just tuck right behind your TV or AV receiver, completely out of sight, while it does all that heavy mathematical lifting.
So to wrap this up, if you have functional legacy AV equipment gathering dust because it doesn't match your current screens, this $199 device is really a shortcut.
Yeah, it's an investment, but a good one.
Right. It integrates your old gear into your modern setup without the headache of incompatible ports or terrible picture quality.
It really just bridges two completely different eras of technology, so you don't have to replace the physical media you already own and love.
It does leave me with this one thought to chew on, though.
Oh, what's that?
Well, if we currently have to rely on these complex active translator boxes just to convert continuous electrical waves into binary, keeping 20-year-old analog tech alive,
No.
what kind of wild converters are we going to be forced to buy 20 years from now just to access today's modern HDMI devices?